Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Praishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauramani Pacharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Praishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayataya Kripabdhaya Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadha Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtiye Dinatarne Rupanuga Viruddha Bhaktisiddhanta Dvanta Harine Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhandita Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. We are very fortunate to have with us Vikasa Swami Maharaj. Brief introduction of Maharaj. He appeared in this world in 1957 in England. He came in touch with ISKCON in 1975. And in the same year he was initiated to Srila Prabhupada with the name Vikasa Prabhu. And between 1977 to 79, his holiness he was based in India, traveling in most records, preaching the country. In the next 10 years, he was helping in pioneering many of the ISKCON temple projects in Bangladesh, Burma, Thailand, and Malaysia. And in 1989, he was given the granted order of sannyas, so the name was Bhakti Swami Maharaj. And then he made it based in India and traveling all over the world, teaching different languages like English, Hindi and Bengali. Also, one of his latest contributions is his literary contribution and varieties of books that he has written, specifically addressing to the needs of the devotees like beginners guidance and the Brahmacharya and the message to the youth of India. And in the last 2 years before, he published this Bhaktisiddhanta Avirbhava, the 3-volume edition, the masterpiece work on Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's life. Actually, it's a very great good fortune that we are having him here with us today on the Bhaktisiddhanta today. While Maharaj has written that 3 volumes, having done a very great research, personally traveling to many of the places connected to Bhaktisiddhanta. So we have Maharaj with us here. Maharaj also is a very prolific preacher. Last time when he came here, he was telling me we should arrange a debate with the Rationalist Association of Atheistic People. So I can break all their truth. Why do you arrange simple people who are sharing last time? So Maharaj is very fond of destroying the bogus philosophies and establishing Krishna consciousness in a very powerful way. And in the last many years, Maharaj has been coming at least once in a year to Pune and giving a lecture and answering questions of the college youth very powerfully. So I also like his writing in the Brahmacharya Krishna consciousness. He writes about how the Brahmacharya life is lot of hectic schedules, distributing books, going for Harina, doing this, doing that. Finally, it's a hyper and it's pure bliss. So, this way you have written those very great.
No, actually I wrote long hours, hard work, no pay, pure bliss.
Pure bliss. So you realize, so in this way there are many statements like this in which any student would read would consider dedicating his life. So thanks to Maharaja for his wonderful writings. He also produces video lectures, audio lectures, and he speaks in Atma Syria. He has learned Hindi language so that he can reach to the hearts of the people. And he can give very good video lectures also. So Maharaja has not been coming to Pune in between for a few years. Now again, last 2 years I've been having him. Come let us welcome him to Pune. Loud chant of Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Thank you very much, Radhe Shyam Prabhu. Directly or indirectly, all of you present here are present due to Radhe Shyam Prabhu. Okay. Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone turn it off. And no photos till after the class. Kindly. Yeah, I just thought I'd keep these books here so I can read from them if I run out of something to say, but I'm not going to run out of anything to say. There's a lot in here, and every page is valuable. It's not just filling up some space. I'm not ashamed or proud to say that this Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava is a great work, very significant compilation. I'm not proud to say that because I know myself to be the fortunate recipient of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati who compiled this. It's not me, it's him. Also, looking at this, 3 volumes, you might think it's comprehensive, but really it's only an introduction. Because the acharyas, they're not small people. They are as good as Krishna. Krishna says, Acharyang mang vijaniyat. One should know that the acharya literally is me. How that is to be understood, we have to learn from the acharya. Not in all respects, but Bhagavan is unlimited. So the glories of this book is called Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava, but it's just a little touch, just some digdarshan, that's all, just a little idea. To understand as much as we can with our tiny little brains the glories of the Vaishnava Acharyas, we have to see them as they see themselves, as the servants of the parampara. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigraha, the very form of the power of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He came to give what Rupa Goswami came to give. Rupa Goswami is the principal mouthpiece of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in presenting Bhaktisiddhanta, proper conclusions regarding the process of devotional service. So if we are to understand any acharya, we have to understand him in relation to the parampara that he comes in, and in relation to Krishna. It's not like some Sai Baba who just pops up from somewhere with no antecedents. All of a sudden there's some Baba or Bappa or whatever, and they're just there. But the principle of parampara is most important, as Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur also said, parampara jano bhalo mate. One should properly, very well understand what is parampara. Even those 4 words, they could be analyzed in so much detail. What does it mean to understand the parampara in great detail? The Vaishnava parampara begins with Krishna, particularly the Gauriya parampara begins with Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna, the most mysterious avatar. All the avatars are mysterious. Mysterious in as much as, again, it's very difficult for us to understand with our material understanding, even with spiritual understanding, why the avatars come, how they come, what they do. Everything is very muhyanti yat suryaha. Even the great demigods and devotees may be bewildered in understanding them. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but he's not Krishna. He's Krishna trying to forget that he's Krishna, so that he can relish Krishna. He came to relish that Sri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho. What is that? Mahima Kidrisho Veti Lobha. The glories of Radharani's love for Krishna, the happiness that she feels in him. These topics are beyond the Vedas. If we say that, many people will become angry. Practically it's not something to be advertised. But, or rather that the Vedas, we find the prayers of the personified Vedas, they become followers of Radharani. And so his most intimate topic, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to relish this ecstasy, Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam, Nomi Krishna Swarupam. He is Krishna, Anta Krishna, Bahya Gora. He is Krishna internally, but externally he's golden, being covered by the emotions and the feelings of Radharani. So it's an exalted topic. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to relish that. He also came to give that. Anarpita chiring chirad karunya avatirno kalau samapiyatum unutojvala rasam svabhakti shriyam harif purata sundara jyoti kadamba sandipita sada hridaya kandares puratu vasachinandanaha. Rupa Goswami offers the benediction that may that son of Shachi Devi, who has appeared in this Kali Yuga to deliver that highest resplendent bhakti rasa, love of Krishna, which was not offered for a very, very long time before. May that Satchinandana be manifest always within the core of your heart. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to relish the highest ecstasy and to distribute that, although it practically is non-distributable. Who is qualified to take it? No one is qualified. So he gives it to the unqualified. This is what he came for. In the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat editions published from the Gauriya Math, it means Bengali editions, they put in the beginning, even before the introduction, they dedicate one page, and the pages are very big, to a song of Sri Vasudev Ghosha, which summarizes the intent and the meaning of Gaura Avatar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's coming to this world. Jodi Gaurana hoito tobe ki hoito kemani dharitam de Radhar Mahima Prema Rasha Shiva Jagate Janatoke Madhura Brinda Bipina Madhuri Prabesha Chaturisha Baraja Jubote Bhavera Bhakati Shakati Hoitoka. He says that if Gaura had not manifested, if he had not come, then what would have happened? How could we have lived? Because he gave that which makes life worth living, without which life is not worth living. That is, he revealed the glories of Radha, which is the ultimate limit of Prema Ras. Who else but he could have done that? No one else could have done that. And the sweet, loving pastimes of the gopis of Vrindavan in the sweet forest of Vrindavan, that is the highest attainment, to enter into that. Their feelings, the feelings of the gopis, Svarashaki Siddhi, that was revealed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in his sampradaya, those feelings, very high feelings and service in the wake of the gopis, that is the benediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he personally exemplified that. There are several verses in Srimad Bhagavatam which describe the madness of someone who becomes mad in love of Krishna. Yeah, please give it. I'll just read some of the verses which describe the perfection of life. One verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he took initiation, when he underwent the pastime of taking initiation, he was instructed by his guru that you learn this verse. This is the essence of all Shastra. Evang Rata Sapriyanama Kirtya Jatanuraga Juta Chitta Uchai Hasatyato Roditi Roti Gayatyun Madhavan Rityati Lokabaya. By chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord, one comes to the stage of love of Godhead. Then the devotee is fixed in his vow as an eternal servant of the Lord, and he gradually becomes very much attached to a particular name and form of the Lord, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As his heart melts with ecstatic love, he laughs very loudly or cries or shouts. Sometimes he sings and dances like a madman, for he is indifferent to public opinion. This is from the 11th canto of Bhagavatam. Also from the 11th canto, Kvachid drudantya chuta chintaya kvachid dasanti nandanti vadanti alokikaha rityanti gayanti anushilyanti ajam bhavanti tushnim parametya nivritaha. Having achieved love of Godhead, the devotees sometimes cry out loud, absorbed in thought of the infallible Lord. Sometimes they laugh, feel great pleasure, speak out loud to the Lord, dance or sing. Such devotees, having transcended material conditioned life, sometimes imitate the unborn Supreme by acting out his pastimes. and sometimes achieving his personal audience, they remain peaceful and silent. This is the perfection of life that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personified. It's rarely seen. Such symptoms of pure love of Godhead, which overwhelms the devotee so that he becomes like a madman. Then again from the 11th canto, Vag gad gada dravate yasya chittam rudadya pikshnyam hasati kvachicha vilaja udgayati nrityate chamad bhakti yukto bhuvanang punati. Krishna speaking. A devotee whose speech is sometimes choked up, whose heart melts, who cries continually and sometimes laughs, who feels ashamed and cries out loudly and then dances, a devotee thus fixed in loving service to me purifies the entire universe. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also encapsulated in his Shikshashtakam such feelings. Nam Nama Kari Bahuda, and the Nayanam Galada Shrudhaya, Vadanam Gadgada, same word, Gadgada, choked up voice. Rudhya Gira, Pulakaya Nichitang Vapukada, Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati. So this is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Some Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives some description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental madness in love of God, but he writes that I'm just writing a little bit, because at every moment Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited pastimes which even Ananta Shesha, with thousands of mouths, he couldn't even describe. In millions of lives of Brahmas, he couldn't even describe one moment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So this is achintya. We're trying to enter into or understand. It's impossible, but it is possible to the extent that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu extends that mercy to us. So this transcendental madness is the highest perfection of life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited that. But he also observed basic dharma. He didn't want to be identified with the bowels. There's a group of, not really a group, they're quite deliberately unorganized. Even before the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the people, the wandering minstrels who, baul means batu, which means crazy. And it's their religious process to be crazy. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his spiritual madness, that is different from that of the bowels, who they have a very esoteric and secret philosophy or understanding, but it's not actually spiritual, although it might appear to be to some. One thing about the bowels is they don't observe basic rules of human behavior or sadharan dharma, ordinary rules of proper behavior according to Shastra. It's very common that among them a bowel who is a male will, it's standard that they'll have some female assistant for some time, and then they drop that one and pick up another one, and the one he had before, she goes off and joins another bowel, and they go on like this. It's complex, mixed up. It's not a codified philosophy, but it seems to pick up some of the ideas of Purush and Prakriti from Sankhya philosophy and meld it in some folklore, but the ultimate result is degradation. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he exhibited transcendental madness. He glorified the paramour love of Radha and Krishna, but he personally observed very strictly the proper rules of conduct of civilized society. It's described in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat that in his grihastha life, he observed this. That was in grihastha life, then one has one's own wife, but you don't mix up with others' wives. Not like in the modern age, where all the wives want to go to work and mix up with other men. But about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his grihastha life, he was young, very young in his grihastha life, and very attractive. But it's said of him, Sabe parastriya prati, nahi pariha, Shri deke dure prabhu hoyen ek pash. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made a rule that he would never joke with someone else's wife. And if on the path there happened to be a woman coming the other way, he would stand out of the way and let her go past. In his sannyas life, he was also very, very strict. One example is sannyasi should not even hear the name of a woman. Actually, no one should hear, and therefore, generally in traditional Indian culture, the woman's name is not known to anyone, hardly. She may even practically forget it herself, because she's known as the mother of her first son. That's what she's called. Now, an example is there in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was the wife of one devotee called Parameshwar, who was a sweet maker, Parameshwar Modak. So his first son, of course people used to have many sons, the first son was called Mukunda, so his wife was known as Mukundar Mata. And when the young Nimai, when Nimai was a child, he used to regularly go to the place, to the house of Parameshwar, and Parameshwar and his wife would very happily, in Vatsalya Bhav, parental feelings, feed this young Nimai with plenty of sweets. So she was like a mother to him. So one time, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas, he was staying in Puri, and devotees came from Bengal to see him. And one of them who came was this Parameshvara. And he mentioned to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Mukundar Mata has also come. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he felt some hesitation. This isn't quite right. He shouldn't be saying to me the name of a woman, even though she's in a motherly relationship. He was so strict in that regard. He didn't chastise Parameshwara because of those feelings of natural love that he had. But that was his feeling and mood as a sannyasi. He didn't want to accept comforts. He lived very strictly as a sannyasi. He would sleep on the floor. He didn't want a mattress. When Jagadananda Pandit brought for him sandalwood oil from Bengal, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wouldn't accept it, thinking that this is too much comfort and opulence for a sannyasi. People will criticize me as being one of those false sannyasis who simply, they're in the dress of a sannyasi, but their real business is to enjoy the world, to enjoy women in a most degraded way. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once heard, he was close to the temple in Puri and heard some beautiful singing of Gita Govinda, he became so entranced that he ran toward the temple, wanting to embrace the singer. But his assistant, Govinda, could understand that who is singing is a woman. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so much in bliss running that he didn't even notice that he was running through thorn bushes, and the thorn bushes were cutting him. He was so much in bliss, he didn't even notice that. And Govinda came running behind him and called out, "It's a woman!" And when the thorn bushes didn't he didn't take notice of that. When he heard the word woman, he stopped and said, Govinda, you saved my life. If I'd embraced a woman, I would have had to die. So he was so strict in all these matters. He didn't want to be identified with the bowels or the bogus representatives of religion. They would also dress very much like a sannyasi, but he sometimes referred to himself as a bowel. We find at the end of his pastimes, he would say that Advaita Acharya said that you are a bowel, I am a bowel, but in the sense of being madmen, no one can understand what we're doing. So sometimes jokingly they would refer to themselves like that. But his spiritual madness, that is the genuine spiritual madness, not to be imitated. That madness it springs from the platform of pure love of Krishna, far beyond any mental speculation or worldly attachment or desire for sensual enjoyment. Actually, these bowels, they were always considered very low class in Bengal, but they became popularized by Rabindranath Tagore, who appreciated their mysticism and their emotion, because they sing with such emotion. But it's not the real thing. Their divine madness, their seeming madness. But the bowels, they seek divinity in human. They think that the human body is divine, and therefore they mix with women, and it's a unusual mixture of apparent religiosity and high esoteric mysticism and just raw, gross, sensual pleasure. So they have an appearance of being detached while they engage in sensual acts. And that the bowel sect is also much influenced by or influenced the Prakrita Sahajias, who also have a long history, even prior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's coming to this world, of the Buddhist Sahajayana, the path of living naturally in this world and engaging one's natural propensities, such as the sexual propensity. And because in sex there's such a strong feeling, and they take that feeling to be spiritual, it's still going on in the world today. This Osho of Pune, he promoted something similar. It's sexual feeling is spiritual. It's quite a common idea in the Western world. Even actually in the Christian traditions, they say that the standard Christian traditions, they say that, well, sexual love, that's a gift of God. They don't know it's a binding force within this material world. So why am I speaking all this when we're supposed to be speaking about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Well, because that the bowels and the Prakrita Sahajias, if you don't know what these terms are, then you have to read these books, but you should read all of Prabhupada's books before that. They epitomized all of that which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur opposed. The sensuality in the name of religion, mixed up, the bowels mixed up with some kind, not exactly Mayavad. To call them Mayavad, that's too high an appellation for them, because Mayavad, it's actually a worked out philosophy, worked out and out and out and out, because I mean there is some apparent logic to it, although ultimately it's quite illogical. Ultimately, even from the beginning, it's illogical. What am I trying to say here? It doesn't make any sense, but it looks like it makes sense. Let's put it like that. Whereas the Sahajiya bowels, they're very much into tantrics, also very prominent in Bengal until recently, actually, until the communists more or less wiped them out during the communist rule. It's not so much philosophy as the feeling and that the experience. Well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says that the gopis are on the highest level. They're beyond nirvishesha gyan, yogira dhyan. They're way above the knowledge of the Vedas. But the knowledge of the Vedas is not to be abandoned or jettisoned. Those who are gopis in Vrindavan, the highest gopis, they come to assist Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and others. And they on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, they write so many books to give the philosophical basis, the shastric basis of Krishna consciousness. So the Bowels, they co-opted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his teachings as they may like to quote him or something like this. But there's a great difference between the madness, which is the so-called madness of people who have some imaginative ecstasies, and the actual spiritual ecstasy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give is completely pure, completely beyond this world, and although that madness of the bowels may be advertised as such, it actually has no actual reality whatsoever. It's just some kind of illusion. The bowels, they search for the beloved, just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, love. So they call that the moner manush, the person of the mind, or they may call that Sai. This word Sai, that's actually, which is now everywhere. There's Sai Baba, Sai Ram, Sai Krishna, Sai Ganesh, everything. But that term actually comes from, you see, there was a Sai Baba was this fakir. It's actually from a mixed, it's from a Muslim background which got co-opted into some kind of Hinduism. Nowadays we think Hindus and Muslims, but they're separate. But previously, before Hindus used to even call themselves Hindus, in India it was often mixed up. Just like someone can go to a Shiva temple one day and then another day to a Krishna temple, and they can. So it was very common. People, they go to some dargah. There's some big dargah here in Pune. I saw that. They may go there. The Hindus, they have no objection to going, except maybe nowadays some of them. But this Ajmer, that dargah is there. The Hindus go there as much as Muslims. So there was no, among many people, there was no clear division between Hinduism and Islam, especially the mystic side, the Sufis, and then out of this came the term Sai, which indicates some kind of guide, or murshid, which means a guide or a guru. And like this, it was all mixed up, but it was degraded also, as it must degrade, because it has no proper basis. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited means, that's maybe the wrong word, he didn't show off, but he manifested ecstasies of the highest love of Godhead, but he also took the time to instruct his chief followers in the philosophical and shastric basis of Krishna consciousness, and taught them that, and told them to write books and teach this. Particularly, he instructed Rupa and Sanatan in the highest matters. Rupa Goswami, he wrote books on the highest matters, the intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Sanatan Goswami also wrote on the highest, showing in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita how the highest level of devotion, progressive spiritual advancement. But they also, Sanatan Goswami also compiled the Hari Bhakti Vilas, rules and regulations for devotees, including brushing your teeth, which might not seem very spiritual, but it's also something that devotees have to do. And Rupa Goswami also compiled his Upadeshamrita in 11 verses from the beginning up to the highest stage, and then his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu describing the process of sadhana bhakti, basic rules and regulations for those who need them. So this was a major theme of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that he came to give what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give, but he gave it as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give it. Not that you just jump right in and imagine that you can immediately come to the stage of transcendental ecstasy, but rather Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a process. He taught Rupa and Sanatan these are the rules and regulations. He personally stipulated many of them and told them, these are the rules and regulations, now you write books giving Shastric evidence for that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught love beyond surrender. Ramananda Rai spoke to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about sadhya sadhana tattva, the goal of life and how to attain it. One of his propositions was Sarvadhaman parityaja mamekam sharanam rajahang tva savapapebi mokshayishami mashucha. Take full shelter in Krishna, fully surrendering to him, giving up everything else. Krishna says, I will protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. That's what Ramananda Rai said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the perfection of life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, that's external. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, they begin beyond the platform of surrender. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, how did he bring one to the platform of Adyantar Durlabha Prem? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give this Adyantar Durlabha Prem, Brahmara Durlabha Prema. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jibe Daya Kari Shaparshadat Shiyadhama Shaha Avatari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being very kind to the fallen souls in this world, came to this world with his associates and his own dham, Navadvip dham. Atantur Durlabha Prema Karibare Dan. He had the intention, why did he come? To give to the fallen souls the very rare, highest love of Godhead. But how did he give it? Shikai Sharanagati Bhakatera Pran. He did so by teaching the process of Sharanagati, which brings us back to Sarvadhaman. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this is external, that means it's external to the pure love of Godhead, in which one is beyond the platform of thinking of Krishna as my protector. And one may even think of oneself as Krishna's protector. But it doesn't mean that Sharanagati, of taking shelter of Krishna, is something rejected. Rather, that is the highest teaching of Bhagavad Gita. So all these things have to be understood properly. And because these things were not understood properly, because people seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstasy, many of them would like to imitate it without actually fully surrendering to Krishna, which means they're still on the platform of trying to enjoy this world. And it doesn't work. And the actual effect of that is that in the name of love of Krishna, so many people were actually living a very degraded life, to the extent that many people who considered themselves respectable, they rejected the Vaishnava cult because it was seen as an excuse for people to talk about religion and high bhakti and actually indulge in very degraded things. So this is the situation that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, they had been misrepresented. It was in this situation that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came. Of course, it is possible for some people to feel that ecstasy without going through so many stages. They may be very advanced from a previous life, or there may be some who focus on this just spontaneous devotional service. As Rupa Goswami stated in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Pushti Marg of the Vallabh Sampradaya, that has the same, it more or less means the same as the Raga Marg, of following the feeling. Raga means attachment to Krishna. So they emphasize attachment to Krishna, but not very much emphasize detachment from the world of matter. In their teachings, that's not so much emphasized, but for the persons who are very pious or spiritually pious, devotionally pious, they may be able to do that, and there may be many sadhus and sadhvis in the course of history who have gone to live in Vrindavan and fully taken shelter of Krishna, and they don't discuss much about the rules and regulations of devotion, although generally they would follow them. The sadhus in Vrindavan would follow very strictly, but they were going directly to the highest levels of Krishna consciousness, and some might have been able to do that, but many were not. Some of them did it very well. At the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there were people living in Vrindavan and Navadvip who were bogus, who in the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were indulging in sinful activities, particularly illicit sex. But there were others who didn't indulge in illicit sex, who were absorbed in Shastric studies, and appeared to be on a very high level. But when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he did parikrama of the whole of Rajamandal, at the end he said, I didn't find any advanced devotee, they're all neophyte devotees. So that was surprising to some of his followers who thought, well, we saw so many Babajis and good sadhus and pandits, and why did he consider them to be neophyte? Well, of course there were those who were directly fallen also, because if you try to go for the highest thing without having a solid basis, if you jump up but you can't reach up, then you fall down and you may break your bones. Adhikana lobby, what is that? Adhikana, no, I don't remember it now. No, that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, but I don't remember it. Huh? No, that's the Bhagavatam, but that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, but I forget it now. What it is. He also warned against that. Yeah, there are warnings also in Shastra how one should act according to one's adhika. Also here in this 11th, according to one's eligibility, and not try to artificially go beyond that. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he considered that even these good or properly practicing Babajis and so on in Vrindavan, he considered them neophyte. Why is that? Because he saw, this is my understanding, he saw that the world is in need of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission to be preached. Pritivite ate joto nagaradi gram sabata prachahoibe moranam. But they weren't doing that. They had no idea of that. Of course, they may preach among their own group, but they weren't trying to change the current of the world, which was Kali Yuga current means tatas chanudinam dharma satyam shocham shamadaya kalena balina rajanang shantayo balang smritihi. In Kali Yuga, every day, all good things, dharma, satyam, shocham, kshanti, daya, balam, that means the daihic strength, and the ayu, the lifespan, and mental strength, they all decrease day by day. So many bogus ideas, so many wrong philosophies in the name of Vaishnavism, so many wrong ideas. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he saw that to oppose all of this is the duty of the real follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who also, while spreading love of Godhead, he also met with scholars and defeated their wrong philosophies. He met with the Mayavadis, particularly Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prakashananda Saraswati, very famous. While in South India, he met with Sri Vaishnavas, Tattvavadis, Jains, Buddhists, Mimamsakas, followers of the Sankhya philosophy. He met with them and he broke all their philosophy, all their different philosophies by his shastric knowledge and proper understanding. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw those who only took the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings about prema and neglected his service, his mission of bringing everyone to Krishna consciousness. He saw them as being neophyte. You can please sing "Oh Hey Vaishnava Thakur." You can put that on the... and I'll come in a few minutes. Time, is it? Then after that there's Pushpanjali, Guru Puja, Kirtan, and it'll be mostly, that'll be a mixed crowd. It'll be our regular devotees plus the Sunday crowd. I see, because there's a lot to say, but I'm just wondering. Well, I should leave some time for questions also, and for book sales also. Yeah, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I'm just emphasizing this side of him because when we think of him, we think of that Acharya Kesari, Lion Guru, that's been translated back to Sanskrit or Bengali as Singha Guru. But actually, I never saw in all the writings that I went through Singha Guru, that term. It was Acharya Kesari, which means the same as Singha Guru. But you see what happened? It was translated, Acharya Kesari was translated as Lion Guru, and then someone imagined that it must be Singha Guru. But like I say, I saw the term Acharya Kesari several times, but I never saw Singha Guru in the original writings of that time. So you can see how things get changed. When translating books, it's also... Nowadays, many books are being translated from English to Hindi, devotional books, but it's good to see the original, because otherwise things can get... If someone's translated from Sanskrit to English and then you want to translate it to Marathi, it'd be good to see the Sanskrit also. Anyway, that's another point. There are so many points. linguistics was a very big topic of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said that he has to properly define so many words which are being misdefined. Just like the word bhakti, for instance. Bhakti, what do people know about bhakti? Bhakti, we have to take the definition from Rupa Goswami of Shuddha Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti. But people think that they're going to Sai Baba temple as bhakti. It's nonsense. The word God, now is that the most misused word in any language? Whether you say God or Bhagavan or Ishvara Allah Tera Naam Sabko Sanmati De Bhagavan. Whichever word you say, it must be the most misused word in any language. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said, this is so important to define words properly. He said that he wanted to make up a dictionary. And unless, he said, I'll come back unless I finish, and this work should be finished. Someone said sarcastically to him once that when you write your essays in the Gauriya, you should send me a dictionary so I can understand what it means, because he would give different meanings. The way he would use words would be different to that of common people who misunderstand all the words. He said, where did you get the meaning from all these words? I got it from my guru. His guru was illiterate. But spiritually, anything but illiterate. Spiritually completely tuned in. So there are many marvelous things here to be considered, to be marveled at and followed. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is not just for praising. Prabhupada is not just for praising, but we should understand what are their instructions. To be a follower of such acharyas is actually not so easy. There are different levels of following. But to actually follow their mission, that requires full surrender, full commitment. That is the price for getting that which they came to give. There's a lot of misrepresentation of the concept of mercy, with the idea that, well, you just somehow or other put tilak on your forehead and put your hand in a bead bag and you get all the mercy and you go back to Godhead. But it requires commitment. One has to be ready to go back to God. If you go back to Godhead and find there's no TV there, then you may not want to stay. Or if you find there's no women's liberation there, you might not want to stay. So one has to be prepared. This is Acharya. Okay, there are many things to say, but there's never enough time. We have to go to the spiritual world where the time is not a limiting factor. Okay, I'll just take a few questions. There could be unlimited questions. I don't know. Quite likely, I'm not sure, but quite likely after these books have been published, those devotees who have read it and they've spoken about it throughout the world today, probably there are many devotees lecturing on this topic and quoting from these books. So probably knowledge of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is more than it used to be. I would hope so. That would be an effect of producing this book. Otherwise, what will you ask about? So there may be some questions. Yeah, are there any questions, please? I'll try and answer. Yatha Shruta Yatha Matihi.
We see that during the South Indian Yatra of Chaitanya, there was a devotee accompanied with the Lord. His name was Kalakrishna. So at the end of the Yatra, Mahaprabhu rejects his devotee. Please explain, Maharaj, why Mahaprabhu rejects?
No, I won't explain it. Anything connected with this topic on the appearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? I guess it is roundabout related. I've been talking about sexual misdemeanors.
Like Maharaj was in the class. Maharaj, I wanted to ask, like, when we try to understand the predecessor acharyas, so they may be in their own time, they may have done certain, they may have prescribed certain methods and given instructions. How to see them properly in the current situation so that we can properly apply
their teachings when the situation has changed. That's actually quite a big topic which I have in my notes to discuss. Exactly the things that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur dealt with, it's not exactly the same things as now. A major, or at least a noticeable, there's not now, as there was then, a highly prominent, noticeable misrepresentation of Vaishnavism in the form of upper sampradayas, sexual misconduct. Not that there isn't sexual misconduct among people who call themselves Vaishnavas, but they don't try to justify it. The influence of the Brahma Samaj, which was another thing that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it's not, practically it's dead, the Brahma Samaj. It was prominent at that time. The influence of westernization, that was there. He went along with it to some extent. He used the tools that Western technology had given, but that's taken. If we see India of today and the India of then, it was very different. At that time, the major issue was that of the British rule and getting independence from British rule, whereas most of you are here now, it's just not a factor in your lives because you were born after 1947. So it's just, you've never known what it's like to be in British India. So there are different challenges, or the challenges of Maya take different forms. But the spirit of combating them, that we may take up. We may think, well, that was good for a certain time. Actually, it's very dangerous if we think, well, those deviations are in the past, they're dealt with, so we don't have to deal with them anymore. We don't have to deal with any deviations. That's a major, that was a major problem within the Vaishnava Sampradaya. There were deviations going on, but in the name of being a good Vaishnava, not making any offenses, then it's see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, and the whole Sampradaya just became totally, or to a large extent, highly deviated. So we should be alert and not naively or sentimentally think that there can't be deviations within the Sampradaya. Rather, we should expect that there will be, and we should be alert to root them out and not allow them to come. But in that spirit, we should follow Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our own Srila Prabhupada, who was, when there was some deviations, he was within ISKCON. He would strongly react to them to the extent that he threw out of ISKCON some of the devotees who are very dear to him, because he sent them out. Get out. Don't. Later he accepted them back. What was going on in the traditional Vaishnava Sampradayas was this, okay, let's just be nice with everyone. Vaishnava means you're very nice with everyone, and we concentrate on prem, and different people are doing bhakti in different ways, so let them do it. But there wasn't this care to keep the sampradaya very pure. The pure is in philosophical purity is one thing, and behavioral purity. But if there's philosophical deviation, then behavioral deviation is going to follow, because philosophical deviation means deviation from the principle of Atma Samarpan, or from the principle of Krishnate Kila Cheshta. It means if there's philosophical deviation, it means there's some entrance of Bhakti Spriha or Mukti Spriha, the desire for sensual, worldly enjoyment, or the desire for liberation. So there was this idea, we'll all be very nice with each other, we'll all smile at each other, and we'll all chant, and we may be different, but we're all devotees, we recognize everyone's a devotee, don't see any faults, and everyone be nice, but as a result, there was no checking, and the sampradaya became degraded. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, practically from the beginning of his life, opposed all wrong ideas, and one significant event was when he attended the Koshim Bazaar Vaishnava Sammelan, when there were so many people called there. He was already there. Actually, he said there are many significant events in his preaching career, but one time he was called. There were all these bogus sadhus, in his estimation bogus, but in their estimation they were bona fide and he was bogus. So when he came, he was invited by this Maharaj Nandi, who was very open-minded and liberal, but he had no discrimination between what is actual Vaishnavism and what isn't. So the reputation of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who was this before he took sannyas, he was still fairly young, he had already gone there, that he's some vicious person who attacks everyone and everything. So they didn't want him to speak at all. And eventually he was given 5 minutes to speak on the subject of the deity of Parama in Navadvip Dham. It's a deity of Durga in Navadvip, and he was given 5 minutes to speak on that subject. So in other words, they didn't want to appear non-Vaishnava by not giving him a chance to speak, but on the other hand, they gave him 5 minutes to speak, only 5 minutes to speak on a topic which is hardly related to, very tangentially related to Vaishnavism, and it wouldn't give you an opportunity to speak about the things that he really needed to speak about. Even they gave him 5 minutes to speak, but they didn't even allow him to speak 5 minutes, because after 1 or 2 minutes, they just shouted, "Stop, stop!" And they shouted him down. So he became discouraged by that. You see that I'm trying to point out, for the benefit of everyone, there are so many deviations in our sampradaya. No one wants to hear. They simply called him an offender. And he superficially became discouraged. But then later he got an indication from all the acharyas and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They all appeared to him and told him, "Go on preaching, we're with you." And he became inspired like that. But preaching means fighting. Because people, there may be people who want to be known as Vaishnavas, but want to just tweak the teachings a little bit for sense gratification, maybe very subtle, and introduce different things, and just make it all very sweet and nice and pleasing, which Vaishnavism is. But part of Vaishnavism is also attacking Lanka and killing Duryodhana. That's also part of Vaishnavism. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that sometimes he was asked, "Why are you making so many mats when there are already so many temples?" He said, "Because we need a place where we can speak our own message." Because in many places, if you speak what people need to hear rather than what they want to hear, then you'll be driven out, or you'll be banned, or not given any opportunity to speak. In my own life, in a very, very small way, trying to serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, I find something like the same thing, that I find devotees who very much, this book on Bhaktisiddhanta is very nice, but it's all in the past, it's history. But when you talk about present deviations or problems, we now say, no, stop, aparad. So it's the same thing is going on, although of course I have to again clarify, I'm very, very small in comparison, but at least the leaders of this society should be open to examine very carefully, is what we are doing exactly in the line of Rupa Goswami, or are we by our activities making such a situation where again Rupa Anuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta will become prominent, where the wrong ideas, which are actually opposed to the idea of Rupa Goswami, they'll become prominent. Those who are promoting these ideas, they didn't think it was opposed to Rupa Goswami. So that's why Bhaktisiddhanta, it was required for him to strongly establish these points, by very, very strongly, because otherwise it became impossible. And many people called him an offender. So like I say, at least the leaders, they should see what is the direction of our movement, because the world is changing and we have to face different challenges, different philosophical challenges, just like questions come up which didn't come up previously. For instance, questions about cloning, should we endorse that or not? So we have to examine that in the light of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. But this idea that all fighting is in the past and now we'll just be sweet and pleasant, and this in itself I take to be Rupa Anuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta, because fighting will always be required. If we're in this Kali Yuga, especially if we're to establish Bhaktisiddhanta. In this regard, I also wrote a book called On Speaking Strongly in Srila Prabhupada's Service. Yeah, any more questions, please? How we can understand Kishore Das Babaji was not knowing and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is knowing, because Guru teaches disciple and here disciple knows many things. I don't really understand this question. What is the question? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is more knowledgeable than Gaur Kishore? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was known as a walking encyclopedia. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was superficially illiterate, or almost illiterate. Not that he didn't understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that whatever I know, everything that I know, everything I say, everything I've realized, that is all contained within a particle of a speck in the dust of the lotus feet of my Guru Dev. It's not exactly a question of worldly learning. Dhone jane panditye krishnere nahi pai. You can't get Krishna. Even if one becomes very learned in Shastra, there's not in and of itself a qualification to get Krishna. Some people may have faith on some demigods. They may worship them. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that we shouldn't destroy the faith of others. There's so many atheists in this world. At least some people follow some higher power. So should we be sympathetic toward them? Yes, sympathetic in one sense and not sympathetic in another sense. To worship demigods is recognizing a higher power, is higher than being an atheist. But on the other hand, it doesn't really help us in the truest sense of the term. You can see the same thing from different perspectives, and then both the perspectives may be acceptable. For instance, if someone comes to you who was previously an atheist and tells you, now I'm chanting 4 rounds every day, you'll say, very good. If someone comes to you who is already initiated and says, now I'm chanting 4 rounds a day, you say, it's very bad. Because you're expected to come up. So it's a question of perspective. But ultimately, without pure devotional service to Krishna, everything is meaningless. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'll take one more question, then I'll finish this session.
The question is that about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's initiation, we heard that he approaches Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj twice, and after that he told, if you will not give me initiation, I will commit suicide.
That's discussed in this book. This is ISKCON mythology. It was put in a Back to Godhead many years ago. Actually, it's recorded that he quoted Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Koruna na hoile kandiya prana rakibawa. But it's described how he went on a bridge on the Saraswati River. There's no bridge. But he went on one anyway, and he was going to jump off and end his life. It's imagination. He wasn't going to commit suicide. He quoted prana rakibawa, Koruna na hoile kandiya prana rakibawa. But there's no record that he was actually going to commit suicide. It's someone's fantasy.
For this question, because I recently reading about Narottam Thakur. Like when Loknath Goswami rejects, then he just did menial service without his notice. Like he was not forcing him, Loknath Goswami. But in this case, we say that.
So Narottam was a better Vaishnava than Bhaktisiddhanta. They're different. It's not stereotyped. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had the order from his guru. Wait a minute, his guru is Gaurkishore. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his guru ordered him, you go and take Diksha there. Okay, Hare Krishna.